Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel. And today we are having Johanna, who is also known as World Pragmatic Manager. And we are going to discuss the topic about the fake agility. So, let me introduce Johanna. Uh, Johanna is having, more than 30 years of experience working with various technical firm and leading various key projects. So I would like to invite Johanna. Johanna, can you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Oh, sure. Thank you. I'm Johanna Rothman. I have many, many years of experience in software product development, which, because I started in the 1970s, included hardware. So I am, I've been a consultant for over 30 years, and I've seen all kinds of very interesting things that worked and did not work and and still do not work in the organization. So I focus on what does work at the intersection of strategy, tactics, and your context, because I want to help people wherever they are, right? I want to make work more collaborative and more effective, and that's what I do.
Exactly. Thanks, Johanna. And that's really resonates with me when you say what works or what not works, right? And that's basically brings to the common term like agile, right? We have agile, which is very well known terms across the industry, right? And especially when we talk about the project management. But sometimes, including myself, the the issue or the agile, the picture which we are having in our mind, whether actually that's real or not, because when we do in the real in a real life world project scenario, somehow it's kind of differs, right? So we would like to understand what exactly fake agility is, and if you can help us explain with some example, that would be really great for our viewers.
Well, let me start with what real agility is. Real agility is when a reasonably small cross functional team has a limited amount of work in progress, and it's ranked. We have a ranked backlog. And this cross functional team has all of the skills and capabilities that they need to finish the work one item at a time, right? So the team takes maybe one or two items off their backlog. They work on it until they're done collaboratively, right? That's for those of you who are listening. I am, and instead of watching, I am clumping my hands together, and then we show people the results of that finished work. So we do a demo, and then we do a retrospective, and then we go get more work. At some point, depending on how you organize your agile approach, if you work in sprints, you try and get a backlog for the duration of the sprint. If you work in more of a flow approach, you only rank one or two or three items, and then the product owner or the product leader, as I am calling this person now, decides what the next most important thing is. So the real issue is limited WIP, that's the work in progress, cross functional team with all the skills and capabilities, finishing a small amount of work every day or two, and then demoing and retrospectives, right? So, and I always err on the side of more demos, more frequently, and even smaller little kaizens and retros, so that we can learn as we go. This is the essence of agility. It does not matter what you call it. You can use Scrum, you can use Kanban, you can use what, whatever it is that you want. But that's real agility. And the reason we want real agility is because of that steady flow of finished work. I said every day or so. Most most teams I see who call themselves agile are unable to finish more than one item every 2 weeks. That's really slow, right? That does not allow you to change the backlog fast or the roadmap fast or anything else in the organization fast. So, what I see is people with very long feedback loops. Now, why does this happen? Because it's not a collaborative team, or they have not limited their whip, or they're not finishing anything fast enough because the work is too big, or the work is too big and everyone is off on their own story, or even worse, not on this project. So
Okay.
fake agility is agile in name only, right? We're doing something that sort of kind of looks like agile, but it's not really effective. And
Understood.
I and I realized that when my clients started to ask for, well, can you give me, we're company A, can you give us help on how we make our own agile approach? And then I realized they were not doing anything I would consider agile at all. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's why I
So
wrote this book.
all in the name of agility we were doing. It's actually not agile, right? So no, that's interesting. So now, okay, so from concept points, okay, I get your point, but as a very simple, or let's say, in a very layman terms, if I want to look at my team, right, and try to understand, okay, what are the key symptoms which can basically indicates me that I'm following fake agility, not the real agility which I'm supposed to apply on my projects. So what do you suggest, what are those key symptoms which I can look into it and then immediately identify, okay, these are the problems I need to fix? Can you put light on that part?
Sure. How many items are people actually working on? Right. The amount of WIP, that work in progress, is a key measurement. And notice it's not a key measurement for any single person. It's a key measurement for the team. And what I way too often see is everyone on the team is working for different managers, literally, not for the team, but for their manager, because they're matrixed in, which is fine. But it means they are serving, in effect, two masters. They have the teamwork and their work. That's the first symptom I see. And
Right.
that's an indication that the organization believes in resource efficiency. How how much utilization, which is a terrible term to apply to people, can we get out of each person? That's resource efficiency thinking.
Right, right, right. And I completely, agree with your point when you say the reporting structure, especially, where the organization which are following matrix structure, right? Which are quite different than projectiles approach, and which I personally also feel, many times there's a conflict between, the setting the priority or the task, or let's say the focus of the particular team member, because they have the dual the reporting structure, and I would say kind of line of command, right? And most of the time I see or I hear that there's a conflict, right? And that's what basically end up creating problem for the project. So now, okay, now understanding the symptoms of fake agility, next question would be, okay, if I identify that and try to apply to my project, then how would I like to see as a real agility? I mean, in terms of output, right? Let's say if I identified something in terms of symptoms, right? And then if I try to, let's say do the improvement on that part, then what should be my next KPI to measure that, okay, my real agility is actually working? How should I measure that part in terms of the real agility? Can you put light on that one?
Sure, that's all the flow metrics. So, how much WIP do we have? How fast can we release something? That's the cycle time. What is our throughput, which is how long does it really take us to finish something? Well, I should say cycle time is how long it takes us to finish any one thing. Our throughput is what is our general ability to release value over time. You can think of that as the pipe through which everything goes. And then aging. How old is everything that we are working on? So the problem is the longer our items age, the less valuable they might become. And that leads to more, we have more WIP in the system. The more WIP we have, and literally, if I see people attempting to work on even two things, the team's cycle time is going to increase pretty dramatically. But what I often see is people supposed to be working on 3 and 4 items, and then that really decreases the throughput. Let me give you an example. When teams do not collaborate on development and testing, when they separate out code review and when they separate out testing, everything takes longer,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
think of that,
Yeah.
right? That you finish your development work, you then want me to code review your code. But I'm busy doing this other thing. That takes me a couple of days. In the meantime, I'm not going to get to your code review request. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
finish working on what I'm finishing, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to start something else. You now have a WIP of at least two, possibly three, depending on when I get to your code review request. I have a WIP of at least two, my work and your code review. So when we
Okay.
don't collaborate as a team, we slow everything down.
Right, right. Understood, understood. So one of the point which you mentioned, right, regarding the aging, and that's directly related to the backlogs. Now, when we say aging, this may vary, from even from company to company, or the industry to industry. So, with your experience, what do you think? What should be, let's say, for software industry? What should be your ideal aging number, and in under which range, if it's goes, and then that should be called as the red zone, or kind of the alert. Do you have those kind of metrics, or rough metrics, where we can see, okay, if the aging falls in that number, that is good, or if it's below that, that's bad. Do you have can you provide that reference, if it's available, or if
I
yeah,
know
go
what
ahead.
you're aiming at, and I do not have a number. However, I have a guideline, which is
Hmm.
look at the look at the percentage of items still in WIP that are longer than 2 weeks old. Right,
Okay.
2 weeks is
Okay.
not very long, but most people, if they use Scrum, use a 2 week sprint. If
Yeah. So
you roll over items from sprint to sprint, why do you still have them on the backlog? Why? They're either important or they're not important. If they're if
okay.
they're not as important, stop working on them. Just stop. Finish the work in your current backlog. And if they are important, don't add any more work to the backlog.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's really the number of items over 2 weeks old. Now, some of the people listening to us are going to say, "But we have a backlog of errors and defects. Our whole we have a whole defect tracking system
Hmm.
going out." Right? I mean, either it's important or it's not important. The important things come around again. If you're if your customers are complaining, why would you start new work instead of attending to to what the customers are complaining about? I mean,
Yeah,
either it's important or it's not important. And yes, there
got it.
are gradations of important, but we have to get away from high, medium, and low and go back to ranking one, two, three, and four. That's it.
Okay, okay. I completely agree, and like you say, it's most majority of the time, the customer feedback should you be the priority, because that's what if it's keep on lingering those items, that will further going to create more backlog, more your aging number is going to worsen. So I completely get your point. Now moving to our the next the topic. So let's say, okay, we know the symptoms, we know what's the real agility is. Now let's say, due to some certain constraint, if a company has to still follow or maintain their status quo, right, how they are doing, and that's let's say the fake agility, what would be the way, the top let's say the bad how should I the worst impact of following that agility would be, maybe let's say in short term and long term, if the continues company still follows those practice.
So I always like to say, how fast can we release something to get feedback on it, right? And you figure out how to shorten the feedback loops as a forcing function to help the organization see what they are doing. Because there are plenty of reasons for fake agility. I still see dev teams and test teams. I mean, we knew we knew that didn't work back in the 90s. So why would we do it now? So if the company is really stuck in in old status quo, really ask them to think about what they really want. Do they really want to be able to measure people individually, or do they want to measure the outcomes of their product development? Right. In the Kanban world, we often say, watch the work, not the people. That's flow efficiency thinking. However, most of the organizations kind of stuck are still focused on resource efficiency thinking. They are so worried about how they will reward an individual that they have lost sight of the outcomes that they want, which is effective products. So that's when I work with the managers and the leaders and say, what do you really want to accomplish as an organization? Right? Let's put those the current tactics aside, go back to the strategy. What value do you think this product will have to your customers? Start there and then generate how you want to effectively develop your products. And I find incremental life cycles are an excellent way to force the organization into thinking about product delivery, not focusing on the individual and their expertise or KPIs or anything.
Understood, understood. So then, okay, so we understood, okay, the impact, right? Now let's say if someone wants to move from their current status of, let's say, fake agility to the real agility, how the transition will look like, or ideally how it should look like, which the team can follow and try to improve their current process, or let's say the deliverable. So what do you think, how the transition should go, or how the transition should one person should follow, so that they can implement, and not maybe 100%, but at least they are nearby that real agile, what we call real agile, and then helping their team as well as the company.
So there are two levels. right? Let's start with the team because almost everybody has enough influence inside their team to to use a retrospective to say what one thing could we do now. And that's when I focus on limiting WIP or collaboration, real collaboration, where we swarm or pair or mob on one or two items at a time, and then more frequent demos, and then retrospectives. So tighten up the feedback loops inside the team, right? That's I find that to be very effective in the team, and almost any team can do that, right? It's all about ranking the backlog, working on fewer things at a time. Um, the faster the team can deliver, right? Reducing the cycle time, the more throughput they will have. All of that stuff really works. You can use the flow metrics at the team level. However, real agility, is a culture problem, right? And it's an organizational culture problem. That's why I don't know of a single agile transformation that has worked ever, because agility is a function of culture, and especially the rewards. So culture is what we can discuss, how we treat each other, and what we reward. And the team has very little influence over what they reward. Right? What we reward as a team is you our relationships get better, right? You and I have a little relationship built on how we have treated each other during setting up this conversation, all that good stuff. However, inside organizations, while people really enjoy those relationships, managers have much more influence over those relationships because of what they reward. So anytime a manager talks about an individual KPI, there is no chance for agility, right? The culture does not reward flow efficiency thinking, which is watch the work, not the people. So
Right.
teams teams can do a whole lot inside their team, but that will not create real agility in the organization.
Right, right. So I really, now understood the importance of this focusing on flow efficiency rather than, going into the resource, let's say usability or resource efficiency. From your experience, can you share some examples where we, improve the flow efficiency and which helps the team, after, focusing on those area? If you can share those example, uh, maybe from your past experience, that would be really great for our viewers.
So I always ask people to do a value stream map, right? Actually, graph where the work is and where the work waits. So when people do this value stream map for themselves and for the team, they can see, oh, I am interrupting myself 45 times before I finish this thing. And our team interrupts itself with waiting for this next thing. So draw a value stream map. I have I believe I have many of them in the Project Life Cycles book. I know I have many of them on my website. In fact, if you go to the blog post called measure cycle time not velocity, there are several value stream maps there. So anyone can see what a value stream map is. Because the interesting thing about mapping your own private value stream, where you get interrupted, and the team mapping the value stream for any given item, is you can see what work am I in the middle of that maybe I should not be in the middle of, and how does the value map across our entire team. Those are two different questions, and those are often very interesting questions that only the team can answer for itself.
Yeah, yeah, understood, understood. So now that's value stream mapping. I also feel it's one of the key tool to understand what actually important and where the focus should be of the whole team in terms of the end deliverable or let's say the project objective. So that's very good. And for our viewers, I will be putting the link of this value stream map resources so that you guys can go through and see the Johanna's work, and I hope that will be really helpful for you guys. So Johanna, but before moving to the closer, I would like to share one key message to our viewers, which they will kind of uh, consider as a takeaway from this meeting, and that would be really helpful for a broader audience in terms of when we talk about the fake agility and the real agility. What should be the one key message which you would like to give, which could become very useful for our viewers?
Look at the feedback loop duration. Are you getting to the end of an item, a story, something else like that, and realizing that's when you need to go back to the requirements? Because you got the feedback that said, well, you gave us what we asked for, but it's not what we need, right? That's a failure. And I'm putting failure in quotes because that means that somehow we did not get, as a team, we did not get feedback early enough to adjust what this story, what this value was. So, and the longer that feedback duration, right, the later that feedback comes in the cycle of this item, the worse it gets because the team feels terrible. We invested all of this time, we did all of this work, and now we don't have nothing to show for it, right? Wouldn't you rather get that at day two rather than day 35? Yes, you would.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
look at the duration. When do you get the feedback that this is good or bad or indifferent? And how late in the cycle of this item do you see that? And then work on anything you can do to shorten those feedback loops.
Great, great, great message, Johanna. I think that's one of the key indicator, which, of course, that will really help all of our viewers. And thank you very much for sharing that, the key insight. So with this, we will close our call. Hope you guys liked this session, and please let us know in the comment section which topic you would like to discuss with Johanna, or also if you have any special query, please put it in a comment section and we will review that, and definitely we will reply each of your comments. So with this, thank you guys, thank you very much. uh, till the next session, goodbye. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.